One of the best classes in Monster Hunter Wilds right now, if you're a new player, is going to be the Longsword. It's going to give you a good mix between both damage output as well as speed, where you can perform various attack combos and do some pretty good damage as long as you can level up your Longsword. It's going to have a mechanic where you're going to be increasing the tier and damage of your weapon by performing certain combos to level up your weapon and then unlock new combos and more powerful attacks, which you can then unleash doing massive amounts of damage once you get to that tier. So let's discuss the Longsword and how it all works. First of all, you're going to be basically having your overhead slash, which is going to be just pressing triangle. You're going to spam triangle, and this is going to start filling up your spirit counter. The spirit counter is going to be the orange bar you see in your sword. And once that is charged, you can then spend that spirit counter to perform spirit blade attacks. Spirit blade 1, 2, and 3 specifically. You can then press R2, R2, and R2 again, and each time will then perform the attacks of spirit blade 1, 2, and 3. And if you perform this successfully, perform enough times, it will eventually take you to the next tier of the weapon's overall spirit counter. So the next tier, you'll know you're there when you see a white outline around your sword. Now this is going to basically put you at the first tier, and then to upgrade to the second tier, you are then going to need to do the same actions again. If you do it enough times correctly, if you perform the spirit blade attack enough times, you will then go to the next tier, which you will then see your weapon will start glowing orange. And then if you do end up doing that once more, you will then go to the red tier, which will give you the best and most powerful version of the Longsword. Now this version is going to unlock new attack combos. It's going to make you move a lot faster, your attacks are going to be faster, and they're going to do a lot more damage. So you really want to get to this as quickly as possible. Now, one of the other ways in which you can get to the stage is you can hold R2, and this will then start increasing your spirit counter. This is also going to drain your stamina, so be careful. This is also going to leave you very vulnerable, so you don't want to be doing this unless you are in a safe position. Now, what you can also do is when you do end up fully charging this attack, you can then release it, and then you will end up doing a heavy attack, which is going to end up taking you to the next tier of the weapon. So if you are on the basic tier and you release this heavy attack when it's fully charged and it hits an enemy, you are then going to go up a tier. This is a great way of moving up the tiers quickly. However, you got to be careful because it takes a lot of time to charge up to this point. So you need to make sure that you are going to be in a safe spot. You know, you can use various things like bombs or stuns to try and make the monster end up being immobile for a few seconds. Or if you maybe stun the monster by hitting it and it is lying on the floor, you can use this time to potentially charge this up all the way to the final tier. This is the way that I like to do it the most, because with this way you are going to be able to move up the tiers very quickly, and this is a great way to get up there to red tier, because in the early stages of the boss battle, the boss isn't going to have many wounds. It's not going to be very damaged. It's going to be moving very quickly, and it can be difficult to slowly get all the way to red tier by simply spamming triangle, then spamming R2, and then repeating that over and over. That can take a while, and it isn't going to be the fastest way to do it. I like holding this charge in because it is going to end up allowing you to kind of skip tiers quite quickly, so long as you're able to avoid damage and avoid getting knocked out or knocked away while you're busy holding this in. If you do hold the charge in and you don't fully hold it in all the way and release it, you're going to do a Spirit Blade 3 attack, which is going to just be like a regular R2 attack that you can do if you're not comfortable holding it all the way, or the boss is about to attack, or the monster's about to attack you. You can do that. One other thing you can do to try and make sure that you don't take hits is a nice combo you can do. You can do a kind of like a back step called Fade Slash. If you press triangle and circle at the same time, your character will basically do like a little backwards jump and attack. So what else you can do is you can press R2 and circle to do a foresight slash. I like comboing this after the Fade Slash because it's going to allow you to basically do a more exaggerated back step, which you can kind of use to dodge enemy attacks whilst also then following up with your own big attack, which will deplete all your stamina. Now, it won't take you down any tiers. So if you are, let's say, on orange tier or yellow tier, you won't go down a tier for using this, but you will deplete whatever spirit you have accumulated. So keep that in mind. It's a bit of an expensive attack to do, so to speak, but it is a nice way of both dodging and doing damage at the same time. Another important aspect to mention about the foresight slash, if you do end up utilizing this, you will completely drain all spirits on your sword. However, if you do end up successfully dodging a monster's attack and then hitting them right after the attack, you will actually completely replenish your spirit counter on your weapon. Another combo you can do is right after you do any attack, you can press R2 and X. This was going to sheath your weapon, and you're going to hold it in this little animation where you can then have two options. The one option is going to be doing a lie slash where you press triangle after you end up sheathing it, and this will actually passively fill your spirit after successfully hitting an enemy with this attack. You'll see your spirit counter will actually just start going up by itself, and that's going to be a nice way to just charge your spirit very easily. You can also just press R2 with a lie spirit slash, and that's going to do a very long reaching attack where you can actually hit enemies from quite far back, which is great for kind of doing damage at a distance safely. What you can also do to spend a tier, this is going to lower you down a tier, is you can leap into the air by holding down the R2 button and then pressing triangle, and then you're going to leap into the air where you can either press X or R2, and then you will do this massive slash down onto the enemy, and you will do some big damage, but it will take you down a tier. So be careful when you do this. I typically don't like doing this attack when I can, because again, it's going to take you down tiers and then you're going to lose your charge. And this weapon, you really want to stay or get to the higher charges as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Once you do get to the highest tier, which is going to be red, you're going to be able to unlock a couple of new attacks. One of those new attacks is going to be the Crimson Slash 1, 2, and 3 when pressing triangle. So this is going to replace the basic attack you're going to have. So you're going to unlock Crimson Slash for this, which will be replacing the overhead slash once it's fully red, and you can just basically press triangle indefinitely to do a pretty basic combo with this. What else you can do is you can do the Foresight Will Slash, which is going to be replacing the Foresight Slash, and this you can do by pressing R2 and circle. This is the only attack in the red tier which is going to drain your spirit in red tier. In red tier, your spirit just passively drains over time, but your attacks won't actually drain it. Whereas when you're in the lower tiers, like in the orange or yellow tier, when you do press R2, you are going to end up lowering your spirit every time you use an attack. However, once you get to red tier, your attacks will not be lowering your spirit. However, if you do end up pressing R2 and circle, that will actually drain your spirit. So be careful when you utilize that. Now, when you're in red tier, or the highest tier, you can also do a massive attack where you end up holding R2 and pressing triangle. This is going to be very similar to the leap into the air and the slash down attack you're going to see with the lower tiers. However, this one will have a finishing combo, which is going to be basically like your ultimate ability. It's going to do massive amounts of damage. However, it's going to once again take you down a tier, which means if you're in red tier and you just got to red tier and you do this attack, you are then going to go back down to tier. So what I like to do is I like to do regular attacks as much as I can, and just before my red bar or my red spirit has been depleted, I like to use this just to finish it off, and then you can rebuild from there. Now, a nice way to potentially get some spirit back or gain charges back, or gain levels back should I say, is when you do see wounds on enemies, you are going to see basically a little red glow when you hold L2. What you can do then is you can hold L2 and press R1, and this is going to basically do a critical hit on those wounds, which will actually make you go up a tier. You can actually go up multiple tiers sometimes. If you're able to hit multiple wounds in the same attack, it will take you up a tier based on every one of those wounds hit. Now, this is also going to be a great way to go up tiers. However, you can't really do it in the early stages of a battle because the monster or enemy is not really going to be wounded at that stage. You have to put in a lot of damage in certain spots to make it wounded. So this is why in the early stages of the fight, the longsword, that's where it's weak at, because in the early stages of the fight, you are going to have to either put wounds on your enemy as well as try to figure out how to get to the red stage. Once you're in the later stage, when the monster's wounded a lot, you can kind of just use these wounds to constantly keep fueling you and getting you up to the red tier quickly. And then when you do things like the leap into the air slash ground slash attack, that is going to probably put a lot of wounds into the enemy when you do that attack, which is going to set you up for the next red tier progression system, which is going to allow you to keep the damage going. This is going to be, like I said, a weapon that is going to be a lot to do with remembering these combo pieces. It looks a little bit complicated at first, and I was at first struggling with it, but after you get used to it, it becomes a lot easier to start remembering these combo pieces. You don't really need to know all of them anyway. You can start out by just knowing the most important ones, and then after that, you kind of just start learning one extra one every now and then. And I think that's going to give you a good solid base in order to learn this weapon. Like I said, this weapon is a very good weapon in terms of it has good speed, especially once you level up to the higher tiers, and it also has a pretty good amount of damage output. One of the downsides is you're not going to be able to get very airborne very easy. It's very difficult to mount onto enemies. I found that mounting with this weapon is kind of hard to do. So if you want it to be able to mount, you're probably going to be better off with the insect glaive. I'll leave a description for that below of the insect glaive guide if you want to learn that one. But for this weapon, it is going to be very similar to what you would expect a katana to basically be, and that is going to be the longsword. Once again, it's all about getting to that red tier as fast as you can. That's where the magic happens with this. So that is going to make things a whole lot easier for you, and then you're going to enjoy this weapon quite a bit as long as you can get there quickly. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the guide, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below what weapon class you're using, or what weapon class would you like to use, and I'll try learn those ones in the future to make a guide for that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Otherwise, take care and bye bye. See you guys next time.